You know what I mean? And something that you said to me, and I don't think you meant this from a bad place. You didn't say it to me, but I saw an interview where you said that it might be a little bit better for boxing, and you caught some flack for that. I
Yeah.
don't think you should have caught flack for that, but I'll disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. Because the better fighter winning the fight without controversy is always best for boxing.
Yeah.
I also believe, Sean, that, and I think you're one of the most stand-up guys in boxing. Let me say that first. But I don't think all the boxing media is. And I think that a lot of times when people say, like, if that came from somebody else and not you, I would have took it the wrong way. I think it came from you from a platonic place. I just thought like if Puerto Rico gets another star, but a lot of people don't take it that way. And I'm going to say this. I think that promoters, managers, big entities in general, they try to create superstars instead of letting the superstar earn their place. The better fighter that keeps winning at the top level is always going to be the best for boxing. I think the system of boxing did Terrence Crawford an injustice because he didn't get his super fights until he was 35 and 37 years old. He
Hmm.
was already a great fighter. Had we had Crawford in those fights at 28, 29, 30 years old, his legacy would be much better. But because he got those fights, because they wanted other guys to be the star instead of allowing the best fighter to be the star, he got shortchanged historically because of that. And the best fighter is funny because whenever the system of boxing tries to push a superstar down our throat, 9 times out of 10, that guy is not it. Let's look with Edgar Berlanga.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Berlanga, but he's not Felix Trinidad. Let's look at Felix Verdejo. No disrespect to Felix Verdejo, but he's not Felix Trinidad or Miguel Cotto. Allow the star to earn his place, so therefore his foundation can be better. Because we miss all of these things, and then the next thing you know, somebody else turns out to be the real star behind it. Look at David Benavidez. His brother got more press than he did.
Hmm.
Coming up, all these other guys got more press than he did. Benavidez is about 1 or 2 victories away from people turning around and looking and saying, damn, this might be his era. Could you imagine if he was able to beat Usyk? So allow the star to be the star. Allow the great fighter to just be a great fighter and win the fights that they have to win, and then they could be the star. When we try to manufacture the stars in boxing, just think about the guys that we've tried to do that with, and they never look at the guy Francisco Bajado.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Panchito. Yeah. He was
Yes,
supposed to be like the next De La Hoya Vargas, like
you
that
you
guy.
got it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got it. Promotional companies, they see if a guy is from a certain place, and then next thing you know, they start repeating different things. And oh, he's of this descent, he's Mexican, he's Puerto Rican, he's this or that. And they try to force the star down our throat, but the guy may not be meant. Sometimes people are meant to just be solid, good fighters. They're not meant to be Oscar, Canelo, Ray Leonard, Ray Robinson, Floyd Mayweather. They're not meant to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm
Like
not
Victor
just making them.
Ortiz and Jermaine Taylor. HBO wanted them to be,
Yes,
and
you
they were
got it.
good, but not the
Listen,
foundational,
and
yeah,
I'm not just saying it.
generational.
I'll
Yeah.
say it about black guys. They want Adrian Broner to beat Floyd Mayweather, not Floyd Mayweather. We got to allow the star to earn his place in amongst the pantheon of the greats instead of putting him there when he hasn't earned it yet. So when you made that comment, I seen people say that was racist. And I said, no, no, no. He doesn't see it that way. I believe it's from a good place, but I don't agree because if Boots beats Xander and then he goes on and beats Fundora, you know what everybody's
And
going to say? Oh,
Virgil and yeah,
then Virgil, he's
yeah,
in the best division in boxing. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's going, next thing you know, 10 million to fight, 15 million to fight, 20 million to fight. It just goes. Like Floyd Mayweather, it took him till he was 29 to headline a pay-per-view show against Arturo Gotti, but he
yeah.
got there. You know what I'm saying?
He
We
was
have to be
28. He was 28, but we're splitting hairs here. He was
okay.
20.
28. I'm
What
sorry.
difference does it
20,
make? It's Boots'
okay.
29th birthday Saturday, or
Yeah.
Friday. So
Yeah.
it's really no different.
So
Yeah.
my point is that in sports in general, but especially in boxing, we're always looking for the next. And sometimes they force feed us stuff instead of just allowing that person to be whatever they're going to be. I used to feel bad for Jermaine Taylor because they wanted him to be a great middleweight champion coming behind Bernard Hopkins so bad. And the pressure, he was a very, very good fighter, but the pressure was just too much for him. And what Jermaine Taylor was an excellent fighter, but they wanted him to be an all-time great. They even sent him with Emmanuel Stewart. He's
Yeah.
tall, he's rangy. He has the Tommy Hearns effect. He's coming behind Hopkins. Jermaine Taylor wasn't that. He was Jermaine Taylor. And he was a very, 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 very good fighter. But he wasn't what they tried to make him out to be. So when you said that, I took it as if, no, the best thing for boxing is the winner to win cleanly with no controversy and catapult themselves. Neither guy because as much as a fan of I am of Boots, I don't want to see Boots get a gift. That ruins your credibility. If Xander hits Boots with a left hook and knocks him out, he earned it. He's the star. If Boots beats Xander up and takes him into deep waters and do what Floyd did to Gotti, he's the star. We got to just accept the result for what it is instead of wanting this guy to be the best guy for boxing and stuff, because what we think is the best for boxing is not always the best. Again, respectfully to Berlanga, but Berlanga's not as good as Felix Trinidad or Oscar or Miguel Cotto. But they tried to push him down our throat. He gets the huge payday versus Canelo and all these other things. And there's guys that are better than him, but they don't get that kind of push. So I think that we need, and let me just say this, because people get offended when you use their name. I'm saying this respectfully to Berlanga. I wish that the kid would have got a chance to just grow into whatever he is. But the money that he had a chance to make, you can't pass it up. And Keith Conley's one of the best managers in boxing, so he had to get what he had to get. But he didn't even have a chance to develop because everything was pushed in front of him. And then they put him over his head in fights, and what happened. Now he has to rebuild, but now you got to rebuild that shattered psyche. So the best guy who wins this fight is the star, in my opinion, respectfully, Sean. I don't believe in if that guy wins the fight is better for boxing. No, because he might. What if he's not good enough? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if he's not good enough to win the fight? Then what? Boots is not a bad thing. If Boots runs this table at 54, he's going to go in the Pantheon as one of the best 54-pounders of the last couple of decades. He's going to go on a Hall of Fame trajectory, and he's going to be the star. He's from a fight town. He has an undefeated record, and there's different ways that you can market that. You can market him as the next Crawford because he's a knockout artist and he's undefeated, or you can market it the next Mayweather, and they could be on their quest to get to 50-0. He's 28, and he's 35-0 already. It's a lot of things that can be done with that. You know what I mean? So when that was said, I was just like, thanks, Sean, I want to talk about that. I don't know if that's absolutely the correct perspective to look at this, but we'll see.
I think I'm grateful you pushed back on that, and I had other people I respect in the business tell me something kind of the same thing, right? And I can see too that first of all, Ennis is a more exciting fighter than Zayas. I think Zayas is built to be in crowd-pleasing fights. I don't think he's some stinker. Like just because he's been winning his 2 title fights with movement, I think he could be in a number of. I think he's going to be in an exciting fight Saturday. But I think style to style, Ennis is the more explosive, entertaining, eye-catching fighter in the ring. And also, when you talk, like, essentially, I feel like just what you're saying too is you got to let nature take its course, and spontaneity, the spontaneous order of things, is what produces stars. And a lot of times stars you wouldn't even think would become stars. Like you said, Benavidez, this chubby Mexican kid, he doesn't look built for GQ. And next thing you know, he might be the face of boxing. And the number one name that jumps out to me is Pacquiao. Who would have ever thought, if you were in San Francisco in 2001 when Floyd was fighting Chavez and Pacquiao, I think, fought like Agapito Sanchez, right?
Agapito Sanchez.
If you would have told someone... If you would have told someone in San Francisco that night, you see that 122-pound skinny Filipino kid, he's gonna break records that were set by De La Hoya at the box office below heavyweight. He's gonna be in the biggest cash grabbing fight of all. He's going to be in the biggest box office in terms of dollars and cents. He's going to be in the biggest boxing match of all time. They'd look at you like, how? He's a junior featherweight. He's got a couple losses. He doesn't even speak English really yet. What are you talking about? What are you? And so, but because nature took its course and he beat all the more marketable fighters at his time, like Barrera, who was selling out the MGM, and then eventually De La Hoya, who was once, along with Ray, the biggest economic force below heavy. You get my point. So, hey, man, I jump out the window sometimes, unfortunately. The Knicks had just won their title, so I'm feeling my hot takes. And even like the Inoue Bam thing that I got lit up for, I'm not feeling. I'm feeling like I shouldn't have done a Joe Namath guarantee that Bam could upset Inoue. I can't really logically guarantee that. And when it comes to Xander, I do stand on, look, it's an island that's starved for a star. They haven't had a star in men's boxing. Shout out to Amanda Serrano since Miguel Cotto. So I do think if Xander could shock the world, he instantly will become that guy that can sell out Madison Square Garden for the foreseeable future. But I'm happy that you pushed back on it and straightened me out a little bit, Brad. So I can't
Listen,
I can't disagree with nothing you said,
I'm,
and I'm
I'm
happy you
all
brought it up.
I'm always going to be respectful to you, Sean, because I
Yeah.
really respect you, man. And I'm saying that, like, it's conversations we have in private. Like, I really respect you. I really do. Like, I don't respect everybody in boxing because a lot of people using boxing as a hustle and they don't have the knowledge, So I never thought you meant that from a bad place. I just wanted to push back on it because I do think that a lot of times the biggest star in boxing is a Black American fighter from an urban area, and people don't always want to acknowledge or recognize it. But if we look through time, you start out with Jack Johnson, then you go to Joe Louis and Henry Armstrong, then you go to Sugar Ray Robinson, then you go to Muhammad Ali, then Sugar Ray Leonard, then Roy Jones, then Floyd Mayweather, now Terrence Crawford. That's over 100 years of boxing, and the biggest stars is usually a Black American fighter. And then you got the other kind of stars like the George Foreman, who's a huge star, and
I
Evander
see.
Holyfield, and the Mike Tysons, who outselling everybody with pay-per-views and stuff. But yet you always, well, this guy is of Mexican descent, and that guy, and I don't mean to turn it into a racial thing, but a lot of times, if we just let the star be the star, Pacquiao, you were right. I'll give you a quick story about Pacquiao. I was dating my wife. We weren't married yet. We went out to see Pacquiao versus De La Hoya, and she knew I knew a lot about boxing. I'm like, this little guy right here is going to get killed. He has the trainer of the guy who gives him the most trouble. He hired Nacho Bernstein. Oscar hired Nacho Bernstein. Bro, I'm surprised she didn't break up with me. I couldn't have been more wrong but about a fight.
I told my
I mean,
girlfriend, who was my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, the same thing. I said De
bro,
La Hoya is gonna kill him. Same thing.
Sean,
Yeah,
I was so freaking embarrassed,
me
bro.
too.
I really
Me
was.
too.
I was completely embarrassed. I'm trying to hook up with this girl, and the little freaking Filipino guy is beating the shit out of him. And I'm like, what the hell did I just see? She didn't hold it against me, but I was embarrassed. And it taught me not to talk in absolute terms when it comes down to boxing. And it also taught me the star is going to be the star because Manny Pacquiao didn't have the perfect record. He actually got clipped a couple times earlier in his career. He had to draw with Agapito Sanchez. Even though it was a technical draw, it still was a draw. He lost to Eric Morales when he was ascending. He still became one of the top 5 to 10 fighters in the history of boxing, one of the top 5 to 10 stars in the history of boxing, maybe the greatest southpaw, maybe the greatest Asian fighter, the only guy to win titles in 8 divisions. You could just go through everything that he did, and it's like, so when you said that, I'm like, Sean's smart enough to know that that's not how stars are created, man.
Yeah.
Ali was a 7-1 underdog against Sonny Liston. They thought he was going to get killed. Nobody knows what he was going to turn out to be. If you read the memoirs of Angelo Dundee, he talked about how he agreed to train Ali for 100 grand a year salary. He talked about how that was a mistake because if he had known that Ali was going to be a guy that's making $5 million against George Foreman and 2.5 million against Frazier, he would have never did that. You know what 10% of that is back in the 70s and 60s, but he had no idea what Ali was going to be. So I'm very careful about who's going to be the star or what's best for boxing, because the star always rises to the top. They figure it out. They figure out how to be the star. They figure out how to be at their best when the world is looking and everybody is looking, and they come through in the clutch, and that's how they become a star. Just like how your New York Knicks, Jalen
Yeah,
Brunson, that's
exactly.
how that works.
You
That's
wouldn't think
exactly
you
how
wouldn't
that
think the
works. So
6'1" point guard that doesn't play above the rim and doesn't have a bunch of cuts or he's not Westbrook, he's not, and
he's not athletic like Allen Iverson. He doesn't
right.
have the cultural, but look what he became. You're
Yeah.
exactly right. I'm glad you're humble enough to take that, Sean, because
Yeah.
that's not how it works, man. And then when you made the Knicks analogy, I literally was like, I'm gonna tell Sean who thought that look at the guys in the drafts that they wanted to be the star more than Brunson. Brunson was playing the second fiddle to Luka
Yeah.
Doncic. And he got a title before he did. And historically, he may go down as greater depending on how the careers go. But look how many guys are more highly regarded than Brunson because of the way he looked and what we think the star should be.
Yeah.
Don't work that way, man. It does not work
Did you
that way.
did you see my thing about Black American fighters after Crawford beat Canelo? Because it was
No.
no, well, I mentioned it's like it is, and it's not pandering or trying to get invited to the cookout, which is what some people say about me when I give credit to Black American fighters, my countrymen. And I just pointed out, look, it's the richest lineage in boxing, and if we can celebrate the great Mexican fighter. Right now, I'm talking up the Puerto Rican lineage from Trinidad and Cotto and Benitez and so on and so forth. That we do got to recognize and acknowledge the reality that the richest lineage in boxing comes from Black American fighters. And you broke it down perfectly earlier when it starts with Jack Johnson all the way through to Lewis and Robinson and Ali and Leonard and to Mayweather to Crawford. And so usually whoever holds that lineage's throne, usually, not always, but usually holds the throne overall in the sport. And
Yes,
that's the
yes,
throne that Boots and Keyshawn and Shakur and Devin and Tank are all vying for because it's vacant right now. And Ennis this Saturday has his chance to audition for that throne amongst his peers. So
yes, he does. Yes,
yeah,
he does. And Sean, wouldn't that be great for boxing?
yes, yes, it would. May
It
the best
would.
man win. Yeah.
Yes, it would be. So that's why. But I appreciate you, brother, because a lot of people get offended by stuff like that, man. And I'm glad we can have a respectful conversation and be able to disagree without being offensive towards each other. Because in boxing, you don't get that, bro. I block 5 people a day, man. It's so bad. I can't even,
I've yet to
even though
block, Brad. I try
even
to.
though
I
even
haven't
though
blocked
you're
one person
interviewing
yet.
me,
I want to. I want to a lot of times, and I'm almost like
dog.
life's too short. You gotta start blocking people, but I don't want to give them the satisfaction. And I'm trying to be a free speech guy. So I'm like, all right, go
You know,
ahead, keep it. But
you
man,
know,
that
you
shit
know
that
what,
shit gets
Sean?
to me, man. Yeah.
Well, I'll humbly admit you're better than me when it comes down to that. Because as soon as you say some dumb shit on my timeline, I'm blocking you. It don't even have to be meant towards me. I'm blocking you. I can't allow my brain to be polluted with this crazy sense of entitlement and this overcompensation for criticizing. I can't do it. I'm listening to fighters talk shit about Ray Robinson and Ali, and I'm like, bro, you shouldn't even be mentioning their names. What are we doing? You shouldn't be talking about those kind of guys, man. You should just, even if you think that somebody who came after them can beat them, you got to be respectful towards them. I can't hear certain things. And but I love this fight, man. I do love this fight. I do respect Xander. I do think that he has, you know, a lot going for him. And but I people think that I have some type of connection with Team Ennis. I just know him. Philadelphia has 2 million people. I just know him. I'm not part of their team. I call his dad when I need sparring. He calls me when he needs sparring. It's just a mutual respect. But I have seen some of the things in the media, and Boots not a big talker. You know what I mean? I have some things in the media, and I'll be like, damn, man, they're trying to like slant this in a certain kind of way. I'm glad the great Roy Jones said this because he was talking and they said, is this too early for Xander? Roy Jones said, wait a minute, he's a unified champion. He's the unified champion. He has 2 belts. He's undefeated. What are we talking about? And I hate that kind of stuff, Sean, because it sort of gives a guy, that cushion in case he loses. And sometimes when we say if you become a unified champion, you should be adaptable to all styles and available to all contenders. Period. He's not coming up. He's not 15-0, and they try to throw him in there, and you say, wait a minute, he's not ready yet. He's a unified champion who's undefeated in one of boxing's best divisions, and he's going after Boots. I can't hear he's too young, because maybe he would have never been good enough to beat him. Every time a guy loses a fight when he's under 25, it's not a thing of he's too young. Sometimes you just weren't good enough to win. Roberto Duran was 21 when he beat Ken Buchanan for the title. Ray Leonard was 23 when he fought a 38-0 Wilfred Benitez. Thomas Hearns was 21 when he beat Hall of Famer Pepino Cuevas. I don't want to hear that 23 is too young when he's already the champion. He's not some rising prospect anymore. He's a world champion. And to me, the media likes to give certain guys certain excuses where they say Boots hasn't fought anybody, Xander has done more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the second part of their mouth, they say, well, if Xander loses, he was a little bit too young. Well, which one is it? You can't be too young if you were the world champion and you're defending your world title against a guy moving up in weight, and you have 2 out of the 4 belts in the division. That can't be. You know what I mean? I watched boxing in an era where we knew if a guy was a Hall of Famer before he turned 30. This is the only era in the history of boxing where you got to wait till you're 30 to take a tough fight. So I can't buy that. So when I see it, I don't have to be Boots' protector or anything like that. But when I am speaking of it, I do see that the media has kind of slanted this thing. So if Xander wins, Boots was never any good. And if Xander loses, Xander was too young anyway. All he has to do is put up a good fight. That's not fair. That's not how the fight should be. The best man should win. They both agreed to the fight. Sometimes you'd rather be 23 than 29. You know what I mean? So listen, this is a young man's sport. Regardless of how long these guys are going now, they're going a little bit farther in their careers because they fight less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to hold that in context. If you're fighting 30 times and you get to rest and do all of this modern recovery, well, you probably will last until your mid to late 30s. It happens. But when you're fighting 5-6 times a year against killers, you won't last as long. So, I just took exception to that comment. I don't want to hear that he's not ready when he's asking for the fight and he's a 2-time world champion.